Welcome to episode 17 of INTERPROM Inspired, Uplifted with FitSM. I'm your host, Mark Rovers, and I will walk you through episode 17 that's all about change management, which is the process of the Fit Service Management Standard, which is in essence process number 12. And this is the process where we're going to focus on you making changes in your organization, in your services, to your services, and making sure that these services are not being interrupted because of you making changes. In other words, when you make changes, they don't cause any interruptions to your services and keeping that to a minimum. Change management is one of the processes that is enormously critical for your organization, and it's something that you definitely want to have matured to the extent that your customers will not feel the impact of you making changes. And it could be changes for the better, but it should not cause any interruptions and should not cause more outages because of you not managing these changes the way you should, in essence. So let's take a look first into why it is so important that you have a quality change management process. I already mentioned the reason you don't want to interrupt business because of you making changes. Because if you do this right, then the change accuracy will increase. In other words, you will have your changes done right the first time, and you don't have to redo changes. Increase clarity in the change responsibilities. In other words, who is doing what to make sure these changes happen in a smooth fashion and don't cause any issues while changing, for example. Increase the effectiveness of changes, the success of changes. Again, not having to redo changes. Increase timeliness in the change implementation. So you hit your deadlines, your change windows, in other words, so you don't run over and again run out of time when you do these changes. Change management should decrease the implementation time, so decrease the number of unauthorized changes, not knowing that somebody's changing something and causing maybe more harm than good. Decrease business interruptions, in other words, minimize customers noticing that you are doing changes. It should promote continuous improvement. In other words, there's always room for improvement, but then again, not by having more and more changes, but maybe by observing that because of changes, something is improving. Improve the planning of changes, the manageability of changes, the tracking of changes, and also ensure that the risks of a change are properly assessed so you avoid running into risks such as prolonged outage times or enormous impact of a change that was not foreseen. These are just a few examples of benefits from having a proper change management process. The priorities for this process is first and foremost to identify the risks that can come along with you doing changes. Sometimes things are connected to each other, not knowing that one change can cause a change somewhere else, and you not knowing that there is this impact. There's a risk. There's a risk to outage, a prolonged outage. There's a risk from a cost perspective. Yes, there's plenty of risks for you to consider before you actually do a change. Is the value that we obtain from this change, is that worth it? Yes, less negative impact of a change. That's where the change management process can hopefully provide you with the value that you're looking for. And of course, you want to know about this. The success rate of changes is enormously important. Anytime an organization has an outage, actually, in most cases, it is because of a change that was done by their own organization. In other words, it is because of you doing changes that you end up having outages. Yes, that's in most of the cases what's going on. So the success rate of change is therefore enormously important. Efficiency to do these changes as quickly as possible, as smoothly as possible, and definitely approach this from an agile perspective. Management of continuous change, make small changes, improve upon improvements. It's another priority for this process for you to consider. When you have a change management process or practice in place, Do you understand the risk tolerance that your organization has when it's about these changes? Do you continuously adapt these risk assessments of changes? Yes. Do you actually spend time on assessing the risk of a change? Do you automate changes where possible? The more the better. Do continuously optimize the change approval practices. So change approvals don't become a hurdle, don't become a hindrance or something that slows down the speed of change. Simplify the change management to support the agile approach. Integrate other practices, tooling and software, as far as software development, for example, if we're looking in the IT environment. Seek a collaborative mindset when it's about change management. There's usually multiple parties involved, and each plays a role in doing their part of the change. The better you collaborate amongst each other, the better these changes will succeed and will be successful, the more they will be successful. And then obviously continuously review, report, and improve the whole change management practice because there's always room for improvement. These are some of the things for you to consider. Use it as a checklist and see if you're doing all these, since all of these are kind of common sense if you think about it. As far as what FitSM is looking for from this process, it's actually asking you to do six things. Record all your changes and classify them in a consistent manner. Make sure that for each type of change, small change, big change, that you have defined steps to handle those. And then when you assess these changes, do this in a consistent manner and take into account things like the benefits of the change, the risks of the change, the potential impact of the change, effort, and feasibility of the change. So take all those into account when you assess a change before you do the change. Think before you do something, in essence. Approve changes in a consistent manner. And then if there is a change that had a huge impact, then definitely review after we've done the change what went well, what went wrong, what will we do different next time. So the standard calls this do a review after the implementation and then schedule these changes uh, appropriately. An approved change should end up on a change schedule so people know when this change will happen, where it will happen, and will there be an outage, and so on. It all needs to be communicated. So to sum it up, manage the types of change in a consistent manner per the slide here. Include the impact and feasibility and change acceptance practices. Maintain and communicate change schedules. Test these changes when needed and back out of changes if needed and have a plan for these backouts. And then manage the success rate and review and continuously improve. In essence, summing up what I was just mentioning as far as this consistent way of managing these changes. That sums up this change management process what FitSM has to offer. I hope it did inspire you to take a closer look at what FitSM has to offer and definitely download all the free materials from the fitsm.eu website. And if you still have questions, I'll be happy to get on the phone with you to do a free coaching session or do an executive brief for your leadership if you said they need to know about this. And if you're already on board, get certified. Happy to train you, maybe even certify your whole organization. We can do that too. Um, do workshops, do coaching, do practice labs to implement all these best practices. Again, happy to help you with all that. With that, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope it was inspiring you to take a closer look at FitSM, and maybe there were a few takeaways for you. Thank you again for watching, and looking forward to seeing you at our next episode. Bye.